Thank you very much, Jacek, for the invitation to be here. When Jacek told me about this kind of event, I was very happy because it will be a very interesting possibility to know about your research. And I know that most of you are in the starting of your PhD studies. So what I planned today is to show or to show you some tips and reflections regarding the writing of manuscripts. Here, well, it's not. Let me see. The laser is here. Is this one? Ah, okay. So my idea is to show something about my experience on this. And I'm using here the template of this journal of the Brazilian Chemical Society. That is an important journal in Brazil that I'm one of the editors of this journal. So we do this kind of presentation, but just to try to show this journal to all the people in Brazil and some other countries. So I keep the same template, but during this presentation, I'll be focusing more on these reflections and tips regarding the publication of a manuscript. So first, I would like to show you where Uberlândia is. So this is the map of Brazil. São Paulo, that we were talking before about, is more or less over here. Uberlândia, the distance between Uberlândia and São Paulo is 600 kilometers, so it's the same, more or less the same from here to Krakow. So the whole Poland continent. I did this travel some days ago, so I can tell you that I know exactly the distance and how is to cross the whole country. But this you can see is just part of our country that is really huge. And here a picture of the university, a top view of one of the campus of the University of Uberlândia. Over here is the chemistry department, and this is the main building, the main rectory building of the university. But there are other campuses that belongs to the Federal University of Uberlândia. We are we divide the Brazilian country in different states, and here is the Minas Gerais state. And before I forget, I know that there are many food here for us. I brought some very special sweets from this region, from Minas Gerais, that I would like to share with you later. Some guava sweets that I think is not common here. So, and even for people that live in Brazil, it's not so common outside other regions. But in this region, Minas Gerais is very common to have guava sweets with some kind of cheeses and different cheese. So maybe we can try later on. Okay, so talking about the need to publish our research results, how and what to do about this. So we have to present, of course, scientific quality and to show advancement or some contribution to the field, of course. And to know or to realize about if you are doing some contribution to the field, you have to be aware or you have to have an updated view of the literature. So for the young people here, we need to be very, we have to read all the papers related to our field. We have to know, even because maybe something that we are planning to do during our doctorate investigation is probably published, or so you have to be sure that we are searching is completely novel, is completely new. So this is very important, and even my students and many students today, with so many information that you have access, because of the internet, it's possible to find many papers, patents, and everything. We don't spend so much time on this, but this is very important because then we can save a lot of time regarding our research, right? Where to start? Well, we have to write clearly, appropriately in English. This is, well, is a problem in Brazil as well. I mean, with time, we start to improve writing English. To my students, I show some tools to try to write in English, to improve English. But the best one, I would say, is to read. The more you read, more you learn to how the way to write in proper English. So is an easy task? No, it's not. But I have some comments from different papers. For example, writing is an art, but when it is writing to inform it, comes close to be a science as well. So it's really can be really difficult. In science, the credit goes to the one who convinces the world, not to the one to whom the idea first occurs. So this is to show why it's important to write, why you need to write our research and to write a paper. These are the tools that I show to my students. There are several tools that we can use available online. I forgot to mention that I will send this presentation to you, so you don't need to care about this. I will leave here the file is already here in this computer. So the first tip I would say is that you need to read, even to have this literature review. So more you read, more you can will be able to write a good paper. So what's the definition of a scientific article? So an article is a synthetic presentation of the form of a written report of the results of investigation or studies regarding a hypothesis or a question, right? So this manuscript has to present the main question, theoretical framework, methodology, results, and discussion, right? So, of course, once again, the work reported in a scientific article must be unprecedented, a novel contribution to literature. So you need to be aware of the literature to be sure about this novelty, right? And this I took from one of the publications that I'll show you later from by George Whiteside. If your research does not generate papers, it might just as well not have been done. Interesting and unpublished is equivalent to non-existent. So this is very hard if you think that this means that even our scientific work done, hardly done in our laboratories, need to be somehow published to be shown to the literature, to the community, to the scientific community. If not, it means that non-existence. This is reported by one of the tutorial papers written by George Whiteside. I don't know if you know, George Whiteside is a researcher in Harvard University. He reports a lot of tutorial on this, right? So another question regarding publishing is where to publish. So when you think about to select a journal, you have to think about the objectives and scope of the journal. We can check publication frequency, time of publication, the prestige of the journal, impact factor. I was talking about this earlier with Professor Jacek about how it's important to publish in high impact factors here in Poland, because in Brazil we have some different classifications of the journals that does not follow exactly the impact factor in some case. So I know that here the situations can be different, as in Brazil is different, but we always look at the impact factor. And another question is regarding the access to the journal. Today, we have to think about the fee. If you have the fee, how you're going to support the publication in open science or in open access. So this is another point that you have to be care to take care about this. Well, just to show an example regarding this information that I showed you, ACS applied materials. I just showed this an example to show you where we can find this information regarding for example, this journal. So here you can find the 2-year impact factors, number of citations, impact factor, and other information regarding the journals. every publisher has a different template of the journal, but all of them we can find this information easily, as I show you here. And we can read, taking, for example, going in authors, we can find aims and scope, and to see if our work is suitable to be published or fits in the scope of this journal. So we can read about this, think if it's well fitted to this scope. And also another tip is to see if in this literature update that you have to do, if you find some papers regarding or similar to our research in this journal, for example. If you find papers that are similar to what I'm searching for in this journal, then probably this journal will fit well to publish our work. We can find, well, Clariate Analytics shows every year the impact factor of the journals. In Brazil, we have this quartile definition or classification is also used in Brazil for some classification, and I guess it's the same here. So we can find this information easily, and every year is updated, so we can check this very easily. And what about the access to the journals? How do you assess the papers for reading? For example, here in Poland, this is something that I didn't ask to Jacek. Do you have access to the papers for free here in Poland or not? Or do you have to pay?
Buys access to certain journals to do all the publishing issues. Yeah. And then basically kind of employees or students within the IP addresses of the university, they can have open free access even if it's behind the paywall of the ones. Yeah? And it also would be nice, that's for the other group that can listening. It's also very nice because if you have a library card, then you can go to the library web page and you can also access easily from home using your library card through the institutional access. Huh? Those are opportunities.
Yeah, for example, right now in Brazil, we don't have access to all journals. For example, Royal Society of Chemistry, we don't have any access anymore. But the Brazilian government just make a deal with the American Chemical Society. So then we have complete access to to all journals of the American Chemical Society. But Springer and Sevier, we don't. If we are in the university, we have access to some of the journals. So this is something that is changing during the last year because the open access, and so everyone in worldwide is now caring about where to publish and if it's open access or not. So it's something that we need to think about. So the journals still present the possibility to publish as a subscriptions or open access. Subscriptions means that I don't pay anything, but if someone wants to read my paper, they will need to pay to read or download, or if they don't have this kind of agreement, as Professor Jacek just mentioned. So when you publish open access, then the worldwide has complete access to the journals, right? Well, so to write an article, you need to verify very carefully journal rules, figures and tables, reference, journals, code of ethics, so on. And this we can also find easily in author guidelines. So here you can see all this information regarding the guideline for this ACS applied materials and interface, for example. And also we can find different types of manuscripts. So for example, we can publish an article or a review article or a comment or a letter or a short communication. So every journal has different types of manuscripts that we can publish. Technical notes, for example, or technical notes are more related, for example, to the development of an instrumentation, something like this. So we can check this kind of information, and also they show us what's the number of pages and so on. So we have to be very strict on these rules to have a better view, preliminary view of our manuscripts. So this is very important to check. So how to write the article? There are some tips available online. For example, this journal, the Journal of Physical Chemistry Letters, has 2 editorial papers. This one, how to make your next paper scientifically effective and getting your submission right and avoiding rejections, are some comments made by editors of this journal, just giving some tips that it will be helpful for you in the next, when you try to write your paper. This one, I really recommend this one because I think this is the best one regarding writing a paper by Whitesides that was published in Advanced Materials. This is a more recent one, but still from 10 years ago. Scientific publishing as an art, so you can find some tips as well. You can see that most of the journals that publish this kind of tutorials or guides or comments are material or physical chemistry journals. So this is an interesting issue that I realized when I did this search. Well, so when talking about when we are planning to construct the manuscript, to write the manuscript, thinking about our preliminary idea is to organize the ideas regarding the manuscript by creating an outline. So we may create an outline and identify some major scientific advances of our research, and then we can start to think about the highlights, the figures, schemes, to discuss the results, to then effectively compose the manuscript. So these are the first organization that we have to think or to put in a draft, just to keep in mind how to organize our ideas before we start to write effectively the manuscript. So much of the time in writing a paper goes into the text. Most thought goes into the organization of the data and into the analysis. It can be relatively efficient in time to go through several, even many cycles of an outline before beginning to write a text. Writing many versions of the full text of a paper is slow. So to try to organize all these ideas before we start to write is the better advice I can give you. And this is from one of these tutorial papers that I showed you before. So this is one strategy to organize our ideas and then to start to write a manuscript. A well-composed paper clearly stands out, gaining the prompt attention of editors, reviewers, and readers. So this is the importance or the justification of why we need to write properly the manuscript. So here we can, I showed you some questions or some issues, some sections that we can think about when you are planning to write the manuscript. So for example, this is just an example of this paper I'll show you with this. This is an analytical chemistry paper, visual-based analytical platform for the in situ determination of reduced sulfur compounds in volcanoes. So regarding this, this topic in the introduction, what I would expect to see? A comment, for example, regarding what are the reduced sulfur compounds? Why is it important to determine them in volcanoes? What's the concentration range expected? The background, what are the available analytical methods, pros and cons? What's my idea or the novelty that I would like to present in this report? And what are the advantages of this? and a theoretical background, what is based on indirect chemical sensing, and to show reference for all of these topics. So this is just a guide thinking about how to write the introduction, right? So the experimental materials, chemicals, instrumentation, this is very common in every paper, so this is not changed very much. And the results, optimization of chemical reaction conditions, development of in situ device, analytical parameters. This is very important. Comparison with published methods. This is not only for new analytical methods, but in all works that you have developed in different areas. And conclusion, what are the major findings in this study? What can the readers expect for the next study? So perspectives, trends regarding that topic. So this is a short exercise that I'll show you regarding these outlines. So the title, it must contain the key achievements of the paper by coming up with an attractive title that will appeal to a broader readership. The title should be simple, effective, and accurately reflect the content of the paper. So try to write 3-4 different titles and get the opinion of group members and colleagues to see what they think about this, right? Abstract. An abstract should be written in such a way that any reader who is not familiar with the topic will be able to understand and appreciate the main points of this study. 1 or 2 sentences that clearly highlight significant new findings or advances should be the centerpiece of this manuscript. A couple of sentences indicating the methodology and key observations should be included to provide scope of the study. And finally, the abstract should end with a sentence summarizing the implication of this study. So this is the main, what is expected in the abstract. So title, abstract, and later I will show you some examples of graphical abstracts are the information that will be first checked by an editor or by a potential reader. So these are maybe the most important steps of our manuscript that you need to convince someone to just open our manuscript or the editor to go through the evaluation of that manuscript. The introduction, just a good introduction requires that the authors fully understand the significance of the work, showing justification. So why did I do the work? The main hypothesis, state of art, what is new on this paper, a theoretical background, and why do I propose it? And results, the next part of the main test is the presentation of the data related to scientific discussion. Importantly, must be scientifically correct, right? So here we have to be careful regarding all the data that we present and discuss in results. In conclusions, a concluding paragraph adds a special touch to the paper and further aids in increasing the impact of the research, right? So this is just some tips regarding how we can think or how we can write the manuscript. Now I will just focus on title, abstract, and graphical abstract. So the title, this is a very common mistake that we can make. I did in the past, in some cases, for example, descriptive words such as study, investigation, demonstration should be avoided because they can undermine the uniqueness of this study. Similarly, avoid adjectives such as significant, enhancement, highly efficient, novel, faster. So many titles of articles comes with these words, like a novel sensor for this, or a highly efficient. This, according to the most of the editors of these tutorial guides, are not welcome words or can reduce the impact of your presentation. So excessive and unnecessary use of this type of adjectives can discredit or lessen the paper's appeal. So these are some examples of different topics. an optoelectronic detector for aldehydes discrimination applications based on CD-like colorimetric chip. I can see a problem with this title because abbreviations are also not welcome. So we have to avoid some not or some uncommon abbreviation. Like, for example, if we're talking about UV light and HPLC, this is, for me at least, is very common abbreviations, but there are some abbreviations that are not common in all areas. So you have to avoid them. So these are just some examples of titles. Look at this. Papers with shorter titles get more citations. This is was published more or less 10 years ago, a tutorial, or just a letter actually by Bourdain in Nature, just confirming that shorter is better. So it will be important if you can send the message in the title with a shorter title. This is hard. It's very difficult to do it, but this is the one tip I can tell you. Abstract. So this we have already passed through this. Because the abstract is evaluated by both the editors and general readers, extra effort should be taken to compose an effective and concise abstract. There are some journals today that, for example, Analytica Química, that is a very well-known journal in analytical chemistry, right now just changed the way to write the abstract. They have because most of the journals they have a limitation of the number of words for abstracts. Some of them very short, some of them it's quite they accept quite large abstracts. But Analytica Química right now just emphasize that you have to write significance, background, and perspective in a very specific number of words. Why? Because they want to guide the who is writing the paper to show exactly this sequence in the abstract. So, well, some journals, they do this just to try to help not only who is submitting a paper, but also to make easier for those who are going to read the paper. So another example regarding this, another analytical paper from analytical chemistry, I will show you in this abstract the different parts that I mentioned to you before. So this is the complete test. Hydrogen sulfide is found in many environments, including sewage system, petroleum extraction platforms, scrap paper mills, and isolated brief, but its determination at PVP levels remains a challenge within the analytical chemistry fields. Some journals allow you or enables you to present a long abstract as this one. For me, this is a quite big one, but on the other hand, it allows the reader to have a complete access to the manuscript by just having all this information. So then, offline methods for the analysis of gases reduced sulfur compounds can suffer from a variety of biases associated with high reactivity. I'll not read completely. I will show you how we can identify the different parts of the abstract here. So justification is the first comment that I have just read. Background, offline methods for analysis of gases reduced sulfur compounds can suffer from a variety of biases associated with higher activity, sorption losses, and atmospheric oxidative reactions. Guidance. Here we present a portable, online, and disposable gas sensor platform for the in situ determination of gases, hydrogen sulfide, employer. 470 nanometer light emitting diodes, LED, and a microfiber optic USB spectrometer. A sensing layer was created by impregnating 2.5 microliters of fluorescent mercury acetate on the surface of a micropaper analytical device with dimensions of 5 millimeters, which has then positioning in the optical detection system. Results. The quantitative determination of H2S was based on the quenching of fluorescence intensity after direct selective reaction between the gas and FMA. This approach enabled linear calibration with a detection limit, response time, repeatability. The sensor was employed to monitor the gas released from a mini-scale wastewater treatment tank in a research laboratory. Outlook: the appropriate integration of optoelectronic and mechanical devices, including LED, photodiodes, pumps, and electronic boards, can be used to produce simple, fully automated portable sensors for the in-situ determination of H2S in a variety of environments. So, as you could see, in different sentences, we reach all the topics regarding what is supposed to be a good abstract. So the abstract should give all this information to the readers, to the editor, to have a first decision about this. So going further on this, regarding cover letter, this is something that I think will not face in the near future, because the professors are responsible to present a cover letter, but this is something that we never heard before. For example, when I was a student, I never read one cover letter of my supervisor to submit a paper, and so this is continues to goes like this, and we don't know how to do exactly how to write a cover letter. Because when you are submitting a paper, we have to write a letter to convince the editor that your manuscript can be published in that journal. But this is something that we don't learn. So there are also some tutorials regarding cover letters that we can also follow to see what is expected by different editors. For example, this is from ACS Nano, once again a journal on material science. So most of the tutorials you can find in material science. Graphical abstract, or also called as a table of contents, because table of contents is the common name given by the ASS journal. Graphical abstract is the most normal name given to this image that needs to capture the attention of the reader, of the editor, when you read them before we download the manuscript. So this is the first image that will appear just together with the title, and then maybe we're going to see the abstract for full, completely. So this is the idea of the graphical abstract. There are also some tutorials regarding about graphical abstract. This is from 2014, also from Chemistry of Materials. You can have a look on this. They compare, the title of this tutorial is the candy store analogy, because they compare when a kid is looking for a picture, many possibilities of candy that a kid can select because of the color, of the shape, or there are many possibilities. Why the kid will select like the small orange one? There is one reason for this. So this editor compare this selection with the selection of an editor to choose your paper to go for review for the next step. So he makes some analogy regarding this. So this is very interesting to see this point of view. So here I'll show you some examples of graphical abstracts. So this is how we find the manuscripts. So you can see the title, authors, and graphical abstracts. Different graphical abstracts. For example, this one had a lot of written information. This also has some written information, but it's hardly possible to see. What is written in this tutorial? Some of the best images are simple, relatively free of text and technical characters, and make use of color for visual impact. It is best to stay away complex structure schemes and small-sized details. So this goes oppositely, right? Do you agree that these two images are not following exactly what is written here? So this is something, okay, it's already published. It's fine. I just took two examples. Actually, there are two more examples that I don't think they are good, but okay, they convincing the editor at least, right? Do not simply cut and paste a figure from your manuscript to use as a stock image, or as they typically are. You sweetly do it to a high level of scientific detail, and they lack in the context to make them rapidly understood. So maybe they are not so easily understood if you just take a look on this. So this is just a critical point of view, because there are some tutorials regarding graphical abstract. We have to think about them as well if we want to publish it. This is especially for high impact journals. This is a very, I think, is a very good journal for me, at least, as a ACS applied materials interface. But in some case, if you think you're thinking about higher impact factors, this will be crucial. Well, now in the end of this presentation, I'll show you some information about the Journal of the Brazilian Chemical Society. This is how it looks like, our journal. Actually, they follow very similar standards of ACS journals. So they have a cover, figure. This is the current editorial board. So I one of those editors. They have some researchers from different countries in the advisory boards. This is how it looks like the publication in the Brazilian Journal of Chemistry. Some other views of the article, so they are very similar to the ACS journals. Here you can see who is the responsible editor for that evaluated or actually invited reviewers and so on, right? And this is how it looks like in the web page, right? How long does it take to publish the article? This is something that sometimes we may think about. Some journals are faster than others, but how it should take? For example, this is the statistic regarding the Brazilian Journal of Chemistry. And well, from the response of the editors, evaluation, later I'll show you how it works properly. But what I would like to show you, this is the time of this journal, this Brazilian journal, 4 months. Despite, I would say, in average, there are journals that are faster than others. But what takes a huge time here, I would say, is this average time after approval. Because this average time before approval, before I got the email with the paper accepted, this process depends on editor and reviewers evaluation, response by the authors, and probably another evaluation by the reviewers. So this takes around 100 days. But then, in this case, specific of the Brazilian Journal of Chemistry, can take after time 40 days. This is the time from the paper is accepted until the paper is published online. This is quite a lot. For example, when we publish a paper in ACS journals or Elsevier journals, we can find our paper in 1 or 2, 3 days later. Sometimes they are very fast, because this process here depends on money. So when we think about the rates or the fees, the fee related to publication, as long as the publishers they charge, they have a large greater fee rates, so probably they will give you a fast publication, because after the decision of acceptation of the manuscript, this process will depend on money. So in this case, in the Brazilian one, that takes 40 days. That's quite a long time. The rates are not hi, $500. This is the initial charge. If you publish a second paper, we'll have a short discount. In the first paper, another discount. If you are a society member, then you have another discount. And if you are a society member for five years consecutively, then you have other discounts. So the rates are not very high. If we compare, for example, with Elsevier journals that charge you $5,000, or ACS journals, the same. Nature, I don't mention. Nature papers is even higher. So this uh, average time after you get the email of acceptation of the paper will depend proportionally to the this fees. Okay. How does the publication process work? Maybe some of them doesn't know, but how it works. For example, uh, the manuscript is submitted in the system, go to administration evaluation. This also in our journal is quite fast because I would say there are no many papers or manuscripts submitted to the journal, but this will take a lot of time depending on the number of the manuscripts that are submitted in the system, then goes to the editor that may reject it or send it to peer evaluation, to peer review. After peer review, editor will see the comments and to make a decision if the manuscript goes to revision or if it accepts directly. This is almost impossible to have a paper directly accepted after the first evaluation. It's very, very rare. So, okay, go to revision. The authors receive the paper, send it back, goes to the editor per evaluation, or maybe the editor may take the decision to accept it. So this is the natural way of manuscript submission until it is accepted or rejected. So then after you have to, the journal will contact you to make the payment. Then you have to do this revision, proofreading, to check if the proof is okay or not. And this is the way until the manuscript is published online. The work will be published. Well, this is a statistic regarding this Journal of Brazilian Chemical Society. Around 57% of the manuscripts are accepted. If you go to higher impact journals, then this rate will decrease and can be like 5% or even lower than this. So most of the papers are rejected. Okay. So for this reason, we have to be, when you are thinking to submit a paper, if you are looking for a journal with high impact, then you have to be careful with, we have to take, spend more time with thinking about title, graphical abstract, the abstract itself, and of course the quality of the manuscript. Well, some reasons of rejection, I would say lack of innovation, of quality is the most common one, but this is something that since some years ago, 10 years, I would say, all the journals have some software that identify plagiarism or copy. So all the editors have access to this report. So, for example, I just have to make a click on the system to have a full report of that manuscript that reaches me with all possible copies from other sources in the internet. So all the journals have this kind of service, and the editors assess it. So this is to avoid this. So at the same time, some editors, they just check this report, even if the percentage of similarity is not so high, I would say 30%, because experimental can be very similar. This is impossible to not be similar, even though the editor can use this report to see how novel is this work, because it will be easy to compare it with some of very similar papers if you just check what is similar to this, and then you find if there are some other papers that are similar to that, if there are. Okay. Well, So these are some possibilities for manuscript rejection. This is something very new. I don't know, some of you have used artificial intelligence to try to help you with something or not in the audience? Because this is something in Brazil is the people are using, for example, to try to correct English, for example, to make a grammar revision of the test, or even to write some paragraphs or an introduction. So this is something that is getting very common. And what is happening today is, for example, we can find some papers that, like, I took a part of this manuscript. In summary, the management of bilateral iatrogenic. I'm very sorry, but I don't have access to real-time information. Or you see, it's a message of the artificial intelligence software. This is very common, really very common to find fragments of the use of artificial intelligence. I have seen even one paper, I don't have it here, that the author is a first author, and the second author is he put the name of the software of the artificial intelligence, like an author. So there is something that the people are discussing, if it's accepted or not. It's something that we can discuss later about this, but this is something that I refuse to use, but I know that all the people can use it, the students will be free to use it. So if we can use this for an advantage, you have to think about this, how to use it on our sites. Right? Well, this is what I prepared, and I wanted to share with you some of these tips and comments regarding the journal. So this is just some acknowledgements of the Brazilian Chemical Society. If you want to follow the journal has now a 1.5 impact factor. It's not that high, but it's one of the highest considering the Brazilian journals. It has Instagram, Facebook, just to interact more with the readers. And so I would like to thank you for the attention, and I'll be glad to answer any question if you have.